Hey, I'm Jordy, and I'm a family pastor, and welcome to this new series called How to Social Justice. We're constantly talking about this. We're talking about social justice in the classroom, social justice in the news. It's everywhere. It's in our families. And I found that Jesus and the Bible have a lot to say on this, but they're not given so much airtime. Actually, I think that Jesus is the reason why so many messed up things about society have been totally flipped upside down. I believe that he's the reason why many people that have been marginalized throughout history, well, they have rights now. I believe that he's the reason why slavery has been abolished. And even though it's still human trafficking, that's considered a criminal activity across the world. I think that these positive changes to society are because of Jesus and the precedent that he sets in the Bible. This did not used to be the case, right? We can read about, we'll take that example, slavery, for example. We read about slavery in the Bible, like all kinds of people throughout the Bible have been either sold into slavery or maybe they've been freed from slavery. I was just reading about Esther yesterday morning, and her situation, as complex as it was, seemed very slave-like to me. I think it's good for us to discuss openly and respectfully how we can see social justice. And so I invite you, to this new series, How to Social Justice, and as always, this is a no right answers, open discussion podcast. It's just another avenue for us to talk, discuss, and grow together. I'm hoping that some of you out there have actually something to teach me, because I'm not a pro at this. I still struggle. I'm still trying to figure this out, like many of us. I still struggle with things like this question. Why are you so defensive all the time? How does that make you feel when you get asked that? When I get asked that, I immediately think, I'm not defensive. Anyone feel that? Maybe when you hear that question, there's a part of you that actually wants to step back and just take a look at it. No matter how small that part of you is, it's there. It's wanting you to calmly assess the situation, wanting you to take a look at the man or woman in the mirror, as the late Michael Jackson said, or sang, rather. Any MJ fans out there? That's okay, he's still the king of pop. When I hear something on the news, or someone comes up to me on the street and says, give us back our land, where am I, personally? Do I get defensive? Is my immediate reaction to be like, hey, that's not me? Or is it something like, I wish things were different for you. I can see you're in pain. How can I help? Or even I care about you. When I was living overseas, someone told me that sometimes the best thing, might even be the only thing you can do, is just share a smile with someone who's in a difficult situation. And no words. That challenged me. In order to do this social justice, don't we have to be social? Shouldn't we care about society? Shouldn't we care about the other? How we personally can make things better for someone else. Isn't that basically the point of it? Right, wherever you are in all of this, I'm just going to hit you with some math, because math is consistent. It's not biased. It's the same thing for everybody, no matter where they come from and who they are. So here's my equation. Defensiveness equals death. Jesus equals life. Well, it's not real math, I get that. But I've found that time and time again, this is true. Much like 2 plus 2 consistently tends to equal 4. I really think that this is just the way it is for everyone in all circumstances. Let's talk about that a little bit. The first thing that we want to do, if we want to social justice effectively, is to check our own defensiveness. Or rather, because we're all dirty, rotten sinners, that's what I think, we need to give God's Holy Spirit permission to check our defensiveness. We need to, like Iran, allow foreigners in to look at our instances of human rights violations. The foreigner in our case is someone who knows us better than we are, and is capable and willing to be closer to us than anyone else. But he does still feel like a foreigner sometimes, doesn't he? Inviting God into my heart, into the deepest, darkest corners of my being, to look at all the good things and all the creepy things and all the parts of incredible beauty, as well as massive hurt. To ask God to do this, I should be perfectly acceptable and something that results in massive experiences of love and trust and healing. But it still feels so hard to do sometimes. It feels like a foreign invasion. It feels like a virus attack. That's exactly what it feels like. Now here's something that's very obvious and not super profound. I actually love these because, anyone can say them. Something that's very obvious and not super profound. There's bad stuff in this world. Yeah, people do terrible things to each other. This is also the reason why giving God permission to check our defensiveness can sometimes feel like asking someone who has COVID-19 to cough on us. Because there's bad stuff out there. And asking for someone to come in and check all the bad stuff that has been out there, and maybe perhaps accidentally entered in here, can feel like a foreign invasion. But I think we've been falsely conditioned by evil to resist God. We've been duped into thinking that His healing is actually sickness. We've arrived at the conclusion that God's healing power, we can arrive at the conclusion that God's healing power is real. We can be convinced of it. We can even desire it, but still refuse to accept it. That's the power that this evil has conditioned our brains. Like I said, this obvious and super profound statement. There's bad stuff on this planet. What if we thought of it as the virus? Instead of God. All right? Why don't we just assume that we've already been infected by it, and we've already got it? And that's why we sometimes think violently angry thoughts toward people that upset us, no matter how much or how little they upset us. Sometimes we just get triggered, and we step back and we're like, whoa, did I just think that? I think this is also the reason why we judge people. So much hurt is done just by judging someone. And we can beat people down with our with the lens we put on and the way we see them and the way we treat them because of that. And we got this virus. We got this evil sin virus. So we're infected by sin, which automatically makes us get defensive. I'm not a sinner, right? This actually keeps us from healing, and therefore it keeps us from helping with social justice issues. So I'm going to offer a question as a solution to this problem. Do I love people and creation like Jesus loves people and creation? Or is it all about me? What I can get out of life. What about my happiness, my enjoyment, my pleasure, my career, my education, me? I wonder what our society would look like if we were more outward focused, more others focused, and did things that embodied the phrase, I love you. In an appropriate way, of course, right? In a way that wouldn't make someone feel uncomfortable, in a way that would actually just help them understand the depth of Jesus and His love for them. When Jesus touches people, He does it in a way that's free from abuse of all kinds. I just want to say that again. When Jesus touches people with His love, He does it in a way that's free from abuse of all kinds. Now, there's no manipulation. It's not a, I'll love you if you love me first kind of a thing. His love is free from corruption. There's no abuse in it of any kind. He meets you. He meets us just exactly where we need to be met, and it's something that only He could do, only He could know how to do. Only He knows who we are. Only He knows where we are and where we've been, what we've done. He knows that. That's the crazy thing, is He knows that. Not in some sort of weird, judgmental, sitting up on a throne ready to hurl a lightning bolt at us way, but in I know you, and I still died for you, and I still love you, I still want to be friends with you. That's the situation. So, be encouraged. Hey, remember this? Remember this? I'm not kidding. This is just the way it is. I love with all my being to convince you that this is true, really. Because when we see this, when we recognize that when we are defensive, we can see that we stop loving. Okay? When we're defensive, we stop loving. When we are defensive, we can accidentally lash out at someone. We can cause the beginning of the death of that relationship. right? For example, right? How that, like, maybe we've even had the experience of killing a relationship right on the spot when we get defensive and lash out. I mean, I felt terrible about it and wondered why that had to happen. You know? So here we are, nearing the end of the first episode of How to Social Justice. You know, we discussed the fact that things aren't so good. It's why we have social justice. It's why it exists. Ever wonder that? Like, why is social justice such a big deal? Why does it exist in the first place? Doesn't it, like, point to a problem that should never have happened in the first place? That's what I think. I think God created this world, which was the best of all possible worlds, and somehow, somewhere, something went terribly wrong. And this social justice, although it's a tool, it's just a band-aid. You know, it's not the end result. It's definitely not the way God wanted. At least I think. Well, it's necessary. So, one of the not so good things is that when we get defensive, which keeps us from loving others like Jesus does, it effectively keeps us from helping with social justice, like it just does. We're ineffective. And we can still do it, we can still volunteer, we can still be a member of any kind of group, right? Like, but it's just, we're not very effective. I don't think we're effective to create lasting results. That's what I think. You know, the solution, we need to give Jesus permission to check how things are inside us. Give him access. Step 2, ask myself. This is just like what would I do in an everyday routine kind of thing. This is like a homework, for example, or a takeaway. But it's really simple. It's easy, I promise. Just simply ask myself / Jesus, you know, wherever you're at, Jesus, why am I getting defensive when something triggers me that, you know, when you feel that feeling, when you're in that situation where you get that defensive emotion, you know, just step back, just ask yourself this question: why am I getting defensive? What's causing this? Yeah. And again, like, anyone could do this. You don't have to be a Christ follower. You could just ask yourself this: why am I being defensive? I think that if you were to ask Jesus, it would be very effective. He'd tell you with blazing accuracy. I really think that. What's going on here in this situation right now? Holy Spirit, come. Tell me why I'm feeling defensive. Just ask that question. I think you'll be surprised and helped by some of the answers you get. So things you start to think about. Lastly, you know, like, to love others, know that you're loved. I want this to be, I want more than anything in the whole wide world right now to convince you that this is true, you know. To have that truth in you, to motivate you to choose Jesus, to continue to choose Jesus. Know that you're loved. And he'll help you. He's helped me. And he'll help us all to be less and less defensive all the time and just be better human beings to each other. Hey, that's all for now. Thanks for your time. God bless you. If you have any questions, DM me. Feel free to leave a comment, knowing that this is like a no right answers open discussion podcast. Thanks. Take care.